Hey, check that out. Good job, Mike. Hey. Hey, sit. Fight, dude. Morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Oliver Nye here. Got the squad on this beautiful upstate New York body of water. We're gonna go old school, throwing that Nichols football jig. We're gonna go through some different trailer combinations here. Show you guys a tactical breakdown on the rig we're fishing. Hopefully you guys can emulate some of that success. How's that taste, Vi? Is that good? Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel. Check out everybody's own personal YouTube channels as well. Turn those notifications on. Here we go. Yeah, that was a 1-claw Willie too. Give us a thumbs up if you guys will keep fishing this bait with just 1 claw. How do you feel about that, Mike?
I call it, me and my buddy, we call it the one-tail snail, and I will not take my bait off until I have no flow.
Okay.
I will always throw one-tail snail.
One-tail snail. You guys heard it here. You catch a big one on a spinner bait, make you jealous, and you'll get up and fish. What?
Oh! Welcome, Zampese. Oh! Stop! Oh, it's a little rocky out here. East Coast jig with a little Xzone slammer on the back. So my little philosophy on football jigs is I like a smaller trailer on my football jigs. I don't like flappy claws like a lot of people do. I like to throw something a little more finessey. I feel like it gives the fish a different look.
How about one flappy claw?
One flappy claw, that's okay, because it represents like a tail. Yeah, that's okay. One-tail snail. But this, same difference. What's up, guys? Mike Zamp here. Today I'm just going to go over how I rig my football jigs when I'm throwing a swim bait trailer. So what I actually do is I'll cut my swammer 2 ribs down on the big one if I don't have a small one, or bite it if you don't have scissors. Like that. So when I put it on a football jig or whatever kind of jig I'm throwing, I like the bait to be just under the skirt. So now when I put the skirt down, I am just under the skirt. And for me that works. I get a lot of bites this way. I think it's because it's something different. A lot of people are always throwing maybe like a craw or a creature bait on the back of their football jigs, but me, I prefer a swim bait, or I prefer a little something out sneaky that I might share with you in the future, but for now, that's what I do.
Are we on Earth?
Hey, Five, come here.
It's like a little duffel bag. So we just pick up his handle and just move him.
He doesn't even care.
Ah! There we go.
Go.
On the football.
On the football.
With the swim bait trailer.
The Xzone trailer. Little guy. I really wish they saw what that was. I'm really sad now. I'm really sad now. A lot of shower on this side.
You're shallow on this side.
Oh! Oh yeah.
Come.
Shoot! That's a good one. Hey. Big ol' head.
Hey now.
You're a rock star.
Get your game on.
That's a good one. Alright. Okay, the next side's up, please.
I think I lost that one.
Keep upgrading. Since I just lost my one-tail snail, I might as well show you guys my exact setup here as I retie. And today I'm fishing a Nichols football jig. This water is pretty darn clear, so I just chose an earth tone, natural color. I always tie to my baits, my connections, snaps, split rings, etc. with a trilene knot. It's a very efficient knot. Always lubricate it. I always keep a little bit of tension on the tag end, but I don't draw down on the tag end. And with this heavier line, I'll cheat the head of that knot down and cinch it in place there. So that's a great knot. Remember seeing studies on knot strength back in the day. It was one of the stronger knots. So same knot you guys see me throwing big swim baits and boat flipping giant bass with. One feature I want to show you guys here on this Nichols jig and a lot of the other Nichols products is this unique toothpick holder design. So it's quite ingenious. And as you see here, I've got a box full of Xzone muscle craws in 2 different sizes. And I can match the color of the skirt. I can contrast it, but today I'm gonna match it. So something like this Texas craw looks pretty good to me. And I'm gonna go with the beefier trailer, just because. Big bait, big fish. So make sure to make note of how far up you wanna push your bait so it sits perfectly straight, and you wanna push it up over that barb keeper. And if you had a toothpick, you could actually shove a toothpick through your bait and through that hole in the jig head itself, and that acts as an anchor and keeps that bait from sliding down. So really simple presentation here. That football head is phenomenal for fishing around rocks. It tends to crawl up and over and through those rocks better than an Arky style jig or one of the pointy nose grass style jigs. A football jig is a fantastic tool for probing the depths with rocky bottoms, sand bottoms, mixed gravel bottoms, any of those types of bottoms. And to that, I've got 23.6 pound Defiant shock leader. It's 100% fluorocarbon. I obviously like a heavier line when I'm fishing around this craggly rock. It's got sharp edges. You'll have to retie a few times even throughout the day. Short leader here, 50 pound braided line. This is a prototype high visibility Defiant smooth casting braid. We're playing with some different colors to see which ones that we prefer to fish. And on the business end here, we've got a high gear ratio reel here. This is one of the Gancraft Mago. I think this is the 003 model. It's 8-to-1. It's built off of that. I think it's a Tatula HD frame, but it's a pretty beefy reel. The guys throw a lot of the 178 Gancrafts on it and such, so it's got a lot of power. So you typically hook better fish fishing jigs. So I want to have that power when I got to muscle them out of the rock piles or out of these laydowns, and that's really nice to have. As with any bait that we manipulate with the rod, more so the reel, I prefer a high gear ratio because I'm working this bait with the rod tip. Picking up the slack really is all I'm doing with that reel. Being able to wind up quickly. These fish will eat this jig sometimes and just swim off with it. You got to be able to wind down and set the hook on them. Anything with a weed guard, especially a fiber weed guard like this, I prefer a fast action rod. So today we're fishing a Douglas Matrix series. It's a DXC 745F. So 7'4", rated for 15 to 25 pound line, 7/16 to 2 ounce baits. And I'm pretty sure this is like a half or 3/4 ounce bait right here. And being able to penetrate through that weed guard, once a bass eats and compresses his jig, you need to be able to hammer them pretty good. And back in the day, I used to read about trimming weed guards and splitting them and like pulling out certain fibers. I found that I actually kind of like them stock almost. Sometimes I'll kind of split them into like a V shape, like that. But you can see that kind of increases the bulk of the jig. And sometimes I don't like that. So if you're having trouble setting the hook on bites, start pulling strands off. That's a pretty beefy weed guard. So you can actually take a pair of Bubbas like this and just start yanking fibers. And don't yank too many fibers out. Start with like 5. See how that goes. and you can keep trimming as necessary. Really efficient system here. A jig is only truly effective if you're fishing it on the right kind of setup. You got to be able to deliver the jig efficiently, detect the bites. So a high modulus graphite rod like this Douglas rod is imperative. All right, and that braid, it transmits so much vibration. Oh, this guy.
There again.
Oh! Is it the one? 5, come here. Oh, dude, that's the one!
No!
Let's go.
That's why you fish a football jig.
That is exactly why you fish a football jig.
That's a good one.
Very nice.
What's up, guys? I'm gonna show you exactly what I'm doing with this Beast Coast football jig paired with this Xzone trailer. I like to fish like more rocky, like most people do with a football jig. If your jig's not getting stuck, in my opinion, you're not fishing in the right places. But 9 times out of 10, how I fish my football jig is I let it sit on the bottom, and I always just let it sit there for a couple seconds as soon as it hits the bottom, because I do occasionally get a fish that'll pick it up on the fall or as soon as it hits the bottom. But what I'm doing is I'm just slowly lifting my rod tip. Almost like you want to count how many rocks are coming over. Every time it comes over one, you feel it fall down, just give it that second pause again. And I just slowly reel it until I start to feel the rocks again. And once I'm in the rocks like I am now, I just kind of drag it over the top. And your bite will normally come either right at the top of that rock, or it'll come right when it's about to come over the other side of the rock. As you fish a football jig more frequently, you'll start to feel and understand the feel of the bait. So as you saw me popping it in that retrieve, I was actually clearing the grass off because, I mean, it's so little and it's so sparse. I can't feel the head of the jig making contact with the bottom. And me personally, I don't have confidence fishing a football jig if I can't feel it on the bottom. Most times when I throw in a football jig, you want it as far as you can possibly cast. You're covering more water, you're going over more structure. It's just a better cast. A football jig, in my opinion, isn't something that you would just make a small pitch to. But there is sometimes where you do throw a football jig in the grass, which is kind of interesting. If any of you guys are familiar with that, it kind of makes the grass a little crazy, gets caught up, you can snap it out a little more than a traditional grass jig. So what I love most about fishing football jigs is that I don't have a lot of confidence fishing deep, and this would be where my confidence lies. I'm a really big jig fisherman, whether it be grass or on dock. So being afforded that same, I guess, mental comfort, you could say, to be able to go do this and be out of my element, and whether it be 15 feet or 30 feet, it gives me that comfortable feeling, like I'm still doing something I know how to do, but I'm not in the exact water column as I normally am. So for me, fishing a football jig just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable in doing what I like to do while fishing.
Oliver can't decide where he wants to live, so. Oh, there we go. Oh, hi.
Nice job. Out here in upstate New York with my boy Oliver and Miss Riley. Throwing some football jigs.
Getting it done.
Little Xzone stuff.
Like it. I've never really seen anybody fish a swimbait trailer on a football jig. Pretty fascinated.
He stuck in his ways. He's a little older than me, so he learned a little bit different than I did.
It's a real fit. This right here is a fundamental of bass fishing. Football jig with a skirt and some kind of soft plastic trailer. Zampese put on a clinic today with the Xzone Swammer, a swimbait trailer. It's something I've never done with a football headed skirted jig, but obviously it works. I'm going to be experimenting with that some more myself, but they definitely still eat these double clawed creature baits and craw baits. It's a fairly easy bait to fish, guys, so get yourself the right tackle, the right setup, some trailers like a muscleback finesse. Keep contact with that bottom. Feel. Experiment with how you present that bait. Some days they want it dragging, some days you can get it hopping it, some days they'll eat it swimming. It's a great bait to fish around big rock flats or gravel shoals or even sand. Where's your sense of adventure, Zampese?
I have one.
Oh, there it is. 5 bags.
That right there is why you guys should be fishing football jigs. Swimbait trailer. Okay.
Thanks for joining us today on our football adventures here in beautiful upstate New York. Me, Riley, and Oliver, we had a blast. Hope we get a chance to do it all again someday. You can also follow me on my own YouTube channel, Mike Zampese Fishing. I try to post videos pretty frequently. I'm getting better at it, and I hope to see you guys soon.